Well, good morning. About 6 a.m. Um, on a Monday morning, and I came out to poke the shop stove. And I thought before I forget, I'll just do one more short clip. I'll tack this on to the next episode somewhere. I want to keep you up to date. I haven't been filming the fill pours because there's not much point, and I really need to focus on what I'm doing and getting good quality. But yesterday I did do another pour in the afternoon on Easter Sunday, and I finally got the top to fill out. The entire pond is full. I no longer have, there was a lump here I kept showing you that was driving me crazy, and one right across the way over about here. And before I did this final pour, I did a light sanding on the entire top with 320 and a quick pass of the random orbital sander to smooth some things out, and it came out pretty darn good. I have a couple of little optical things, but when you run your fingers over them, you can't even feel them. You close your eyes and try and find a spot, and you can't. So it's looking pretty good. I thought I'd do a quick flyover. I know the lighting's not too good. The camera keeps going in and out of focus. The sun hasn't made it above the trees yet. But, you know, this will give you a little bit of an idea. I can, without too much reflection from the garage door windows. It's looking pretty nice. The corners, I had to retape this corner yesterday when I did that sanding so I could get better fill down the side, because I'd rather sand that stuff off and shape it the way I want it than have the tape up too tight and not be able to, not have material there to work with. So all that stuff is going to be sanded and rounded probably just prior to the final pour. I'm going to leave that on there for now because it's actually it's a raised edge. I'll probably take the tape off, but I'm going to let this cure for a few days, maybe even more than a few days before I flip it, maybe a week. So the corners are looking good. I'll pull the tape off. By then I should have the shelf all finished. And yeah, I poured some of my excess on the shelf yesterday just to smooth it back out and see how it looks. But I got some more sanding to do here. I'm going to adjust the level on the table and get this to make sure it's dead flat to the level, and then we'll do a pour in there. I don't know if it'll be today, but we'll get in that direction. So I pull the tape off when I'm done, and flip the table, install the legs on the bottom. That'll take a day or so. And I haven't even got the legs yet, so I'm waiting for right leg to get those made. When you custom order, you just have to be patient, so I'm being patient. But you can see the finish on the top looks real good. It's flat and smooth. It feels real good to your fingers. And client was in yesterday, saw a picture that looked something like this, but it still had the bump here and the bump over there, and they are gone now. So we will see what we get. It's still impossible to get this without the reflections in it, but at any rate, it's looking nice. This drop off in here, I'll probably be hours on this because the wood actually drops way down. This is actual, you know, live edge from the tree where the bark was, or an old branch broke off or something and it healed itself. So I'm gonna, you know, sand this out to get back to where that bark is and try and make it look a lot more like nature made it rather than what I made it with the epoxy. But it's looking good. It's got some nice depth to it. Nebraska, you remarked that this looks like a canyon. And from that photo, yeah, it does. But it's only about inch and a half, inch and 3/4 deep. Somewhere in here, it's about, I think this is the deep part of the pond. Back up a little. And that's, I don't know, maybe inch and 3/4 to almost 2 inches deep. And it came out pretty good. This is the first time I did coloring in a large project like this, and the clients appear to be pleased. I'm down here. I got a little, I don't know how well you can see this, but there is some reflectivity out of it. It's almost like a blue marbling. Wow, where are those black shadows coming from? Can't tell. Anyway, it's got like a pearlite feel to it. And I didn't want to go too artificial with that, but I did try it in what I call the creek section. And then here I went to more flat colors. And here I got a little deep blue because there is a little hole down here. So anyway, that's what it is. You take your shot, you pay your money, you take your chances, and I got what I got. And it was a good first effort. I think it was a very good first effort. I think the clients will be pleased to have this in their home. So there we are. Just a quickie to let you know how it came out after the second to last pour. And that's actually what I'm figuring here. When I come back after the legs are done, I will, do one more light sanding. I got one dot I found here late last night that I tried to, yeah, you can just see it in the camera there, right in that, where that fluorescent light is. See that dot? And it was too late, and I tried to smudge it out with a pair of surgical tweezers, and I could not get it out. So I made a little scrub there. But I knew there was another, and there's another dot right here. I just seeing right there. Okay. In, out. There we go. But these are no big deal. They will completely disappear on the next pour. And that's going to be the key, is that final pour, getting it to be flawless on the top. So I may actually build a tent over this to make sure I get no floating dust that drops down on top of this as it cures. So there we go. You may not see this for a while, but it'll be in the next video. This week I'm working on the shelf. I have sawmill repairs that I hope to get done and maybe start milling some lumber if I have time. And then 2 or 3 a.m. Thursday morning I get up, drive to the airport, take a plane down to Georgia. So we will see you when we see you. Everybody take care and be well. Well, hey everyone, we're back. I wanted to give you another update since that last little clip, and it may be that this next episode, whenever it comes out, is a series of updates because I don't want to bore you with the details. Last time I did this was a week and a day ago, I think. A week and a day ago. At any rate, since then, a lot of water's gone over the dam. Got the sawmill fixed. It's running good. Cut some lumber. Got some immediate needs taken care of. Kept my word. Got on a plane Thursday. Flew down to Georgia. Had a heck of a trip. Met some of the best sawyers in the country that I could come in contact with. Saw some outstanding stuff. That'll probably be coming out in another video when I get it all smoothed out in my head. And because boy, I tell you what, there was a lot of water over the dam on that weekend. But at any rate, we're back here, and I didn't touch this since the last update until yesterday. Actually, I did touch it once. Before I left for Georgia, I pulled the tape off and I started doing a little work on the edges, and that was probably on Tuesday, the day after the previous video clip that you just saw. And what happened was, now keep in mind, I did the pour on Sunday. I did that little update on Monday morning early, and it took me about probably around an hour to get all the tape off, because it does tend to, if you leave that tape on long enough, the epoxy soaks into it, and it can get kind of married together, so you get a lot of blue dots and stuff, and the tape tears, and so you got to be real careful taking it off. I think I talked about that in an earlier episode, but I got it all off, and then I had where the pour would come into where the tape was. You get this surface tension lip that comes up all the way around. In most places, it was about 1/8 of an inch to 3/16 high, and in a couple of places where these big drop-offs are, excuse me, it comes in a considerable amount. So there's a lot of sanding to do to kind of shape that all into the, give it more character and follow the edge of the table. And then yesterday, after I got home from Georgia Sunday afternoon, but I'll tell you what, my head was still back in Georgia, and I was processing all the stuff I had seen and the people I met and the experiences I had. So there was nothing in me for coming out to the shop and working. I just checked on everything and went to bed by 8:30 Sunday night. At any rate, I come out yesterday, and then I had sanded some of that stuff last week just to rough it down, because there's a lot of sanding. But when you get down to it and you start looking at the details, you'll get a little dot here and a little dot there. And I'm a real fuss budget about these things, so I have to go over it, because you can't, it's not wood. You can't start with 80 grit paper. You're going to start ripping it up. The epoxy gets heated up from the sandpaper, and it starts to melt a little bit. So you really want to be gentle and take your time. It takes a lot of time. So after about 3 hours of sitting in a chair working my way around, I got, what did I get? I got a little bit more than half of the edging done. So today I came out and, set up a little bit better. I've got an overhead light that's, let me back up so you can get perspective here. I hung that light in a different direction, and it's right over the table. I'm going to pick up a tarp today and throw that over that. There's, if I wiggle it, maybe you can see it. There is like a little ridge line there that I hung the lamp from, and the tarp will go over that to help keep some of the dust down on the final pours, because one fleck of dust shows up in that like a sore thumb, to me anyway. So today I put in more time with finer paper, down to 320. I went all the way around. I finished, and I had a reshape in here because it got a little lumpy. And I've been looking at here. I'll show you right here. I may have to grab a light. Hopefully I won't wiggle too much. Can you see, like right there, there's a white dot? Well, I'm going to be back over that again. And there's another white dot. So I keep sanding it down, wash it all off with mineral spirits, and look it over, and then go back and hit the little white dots and the things I don't like. And it takes hours. I've got about 3 hours in yesterday, and looking at the clock here real quick, hang on a second, I've got another 2.5 hours in today, and it's starting to look real good. I still got a few spots, like I just pointed out. Nobody's perfect. It takes time. Last week I also rough sanded this shelf down, and it got real gummy down here where it was thick. Remember I said if you don't let it cure for a couple of days, when you cut the top off and you start sanding it, it'll gum up. And it did. So I left it until I got home yesterday, and then it sanded out real nice. So this is getting ready, and I may actually even pour this today as a final on the shelf. And one last thing I wanted to point out, when you work with this stuff and you do this kind of fitting up and blending after the pour. And it's the same point I just made actually is this stuff can be you can go like, you come in the next morning and you put your hand on it and you can go like this and it's fine. But if you put some pressure on the palm of your hand and the heat of your hand has a few seconds to heat that up, if it's only a 24 hours or 36 hours cured, that's not enough, and you'll leave a smudge. Now you won't see it here because it's a week cured. Look down here if you can. Let's see if I can find this. Can you see that smudge right in here? Right there. Sorry, I can't even hardly see it. Well, I can feel that. And that was because I was going around, and when I had trouble with the tape, I had the heel of my hand on there, and it was there too long, and it left a mark. Now, if this was my final pour, I'd be in deep trouble because I have to sand all this out. But it's not my final pour, so I have to sand it anyway. So that stuff, as soon as I pass over it with 320 paper, it disappears. Of course, so does the shine. But, so we're in good shape here. The edges are coming out nice, all blended. I took out any lumpity-doos, from where the epoxy met the tape, and the tape had a little wrinkle. They show up. All that stuff has been sanded out. When I do the shelf today or tomorrow, whenever, I will take a brush and I'll do those edges again, just lightly with a brush. And I'll keep an eye on that whoops, sorry about the fingers. Keep an eye on that. There you can see that smudge right there. And I can feel it. I can close my eyes, drag my fingers, and feel it. And that's enough to, be very upsetting if it was your final pour. So when you do that last pour, the last forever pour, you have got to make sure no dust gets on this for the first, say 12 hours. And then make sure nobody leans on it for another 48 hours or so, and just let it do its own thing. Because the rest of it, as you can see here, this is like glass. This is beautiful. It's clear. You can see all the grain shows up. I don't know what those lines are that look like shadows. And I have no idea where they're coming from. Must be the camera or something. But at any rate, it's very clear. I hope I'm not moving this too fast. Oh, you can see a little dot there. And here we're coming up on the pond. And, everything is nice and clear. If the camera would focus, there you go. There's a rock. There's another rock. And another rock. Very exciting rocks. Some coloring. And then we go out and down. And this is where the waterfall goes over the edge. And that'll all this milky stuff here will shine up when I do the rest of it. So there you have it. Just another update. I talked too long. We're already up to 8 minutes total between these two clips. So anyway, that's an update, and we will come back when we have something more interesting to talk about. Be well. Thanks for watching. If you want to look at other products, they're on woodsmanforestproducts.com, and we'll catch you later. Hey, we're back. Remember me? This is third clip to put together. The next episode, which I think is 16, you tell me. And I can't believe this is going on this long, but I like to not make them too long. As you can see, we are back on the bottom of the table. And I say this every time. I'm going to try and keep this short. And it's about time I threw the other clips together and put out this episode. They have spanned 3 clips spanning about 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks, something like that. In the meantime, we got the sawmill fixed. I went down to Georgia. I came back. I recovered from that. Quick trip to Vermont. And somewhere in there, I got a call from the fine folks at Logrite and my friend Shayna, and she said the legs are ready, and they were ready just in time for their open house, but I had to be in Vermont that day, so could not go to Connecticut. Will go the day after tomorrow. I have an appointment tomorrow that I can't miss, so I wanted to give you another little update. So I flipped this back, but before I flipped it back, I did what I said in the last video. I poured the bottom side of this, which is the shot glass shelf, or actually I'm pointing to the top. This is the bottom, and that came out beautiful. Did a little more polishing. I sanded all the edge work around the top that I could get to and see well, and developed a new little trick in there I'll tell you about in a minute, to make things go faster. And then my buddy Bill stopped by this morning to take care of some other business, and he helped me flip this over. I can no longer flip this by myself because it's getting too close to finished. If I bang it or slip, I could damage it. So I need two pairs of hands to do the flip. And it's getting a little slippery too. You know, this is as smooth and as shiny as it looks. What I did find when I flipped it this morning was I had touched up a few spots along the edges here and there, and a little bit of stuff drippaged over the bottom edge here and left some icky spots that I didn't like. So I took in, and here's the new trick I found. Last week I was down in town, and I happened to get a Harbor Freight flyer in my email. We were food shopping. Excuse me. I shouldn't shoot these after I sand because that's when I start coughing. And I found out that Harbor Freight has 5-inch random orbital sanding hook and loop discs in 600 grit, and I haven't been able to get those anywhere. So after we finished up our food shopping, we headed right over. I picked up a package of them, and I won't say it changed my life, but it sure did make things a lot easier. So when I did the edges all around the top, I hit it with 320 very gently. It takes a little while to take any lumps out if you have them. I didn't have many, and they were small. So you bring that down, and you have to watch it very carefully. As soon as you get flush with the rest of the existing surrounding surface, you stop, switch over to the 600, and then go around and smooth out all the marks from the 320. And then, if you want, you can go right into a heavy compound, which we talked about in a previous video. And then from there, you go to a lighter compound, and then from there, you can go into a polish. And I didn't have to do all of those little steps with the Nova system because we're getting down to it. So this morning, I did the same thing. Once we flipped it over and I found those spots, hit a little bit with the 320 around the edges, and then I went down with the 600 and smoothed all that out. And believe me, that 600, let me see if I can grab a piece here behind me. Oh, it's on the, never mind, it's on the sander. That 600 is so fine, it's like, well, I've written on paper that's a lot coarser than that 600. So that smooths it out real good, and it saves a lot of time and hand work and hand sanding and whatnot. So I'm very happy with that. I wanted to record a little clip that details that information so that the next time I do this, I have that information to go back to. The thing is, when you do one of these, I don't do them very often. I mentioned that before, once every year or two. It takes a real good amount of time to get back in the groove and figure out how did I do that to get it to look so nice. And I am up to that point now where you know, it's starting to look nice, and I've got my technique down, so now I know exactly what it's going to look like before I get there. So what I need to do now, and the reason this is upside down is, as I said, the legs are here. I'll be going to Right Leg over in Connecticut and have a quick visit with those fine folks. Pick up the legs and bring them home. I'd rather do that. It's a 2-hour drive each way, but I'd rather do that than have them shipped and risk getting that paint smudged or chipped or anything like that. And I'll have a nice product. So we're gonna lay out the legs, and that'll be the next episode. We'll talk about the leg layout, how we figured that out, and I'll show you a little bit about how I do it. Your mileage may vary, and we will get the legs on. Once the legs are on, then I will know what I'll have for dimensions for the shelves that are going to go on the bottom. I say shelves, but it may be one shelf, it may be two. Not sure yet. Comes down to an aesthetic and a practical thing. So we'll get that done. I have some very nice sycamore that I got to use for those shelves, and this is 12 inches wide now, but I will likely wind up thinning that out a little bit, narrowing it down. And it's been planed so I could see the finish, see what I was working with. I have another one upstairs that I had a few tiny cracks to fill with epoxy, so I'll be sanding those out. So we'll get that done, figure out what finish we're going to put on them. It may be polyurethane. I don't think I'll go for epoxy, but it's possible. We'll see what we get. So that's where we stand. I want to give you an update and get this video in the can because I'm losing track of all the videos I've got that I haven't edited and posted yet. It's not just this. I have some other stuff to do. So there you have it, and we'll be back at a later date with more information, probably about 3 or 4 days, but before you see anything come to press. Again, if you want to look at any of my other stuff or see any of the other work I do, just go to woodsmanforestproducts.com, and that's all one word. And you can read to your heart's content some of the things I've written, some information I have posted up there. There's a media page that has videos on it and things of that nature. And we will talk to you later. Bye-bye and be well.